The atmospheric energy harvester sits at the top of our list, and for good reason. In 1928, a Hungarian physicist named Dr. Laszlo Benedek developed a device that could extract electrical energy directly from the atmosphere using nothing more than specialized copper arrays and crystalline collectors. The prototype, roughly the size of a large refrigerator, could power an entire household continuously without any external fuel source. Benedek's breakthrough came from his understanding of atmospheric electrical potential. The Earth's atmosphere contains billions of volts of electrical energy, constantly moving between the ionosphere and the ground. While others had recognized this phenomenon, Benedek was the first to create a practical method for capturing and converting it into usable power. His device used a network of precisely tuned metallic resonators that could detect and amplify the natural electrical fluctuations in the air. These resonators fed into a conversion chamber containing what he called energy crystals, specially treated quartz formations that could store and regulate the captured electricity. The system required no maintenance, produced no waste, and operated silently around the clock. During controlled tests in Budapest, the device consistently generated enough power to light, heat, and operate all electrical appliances in a 3-story building. Independent engineers who witnessed the demonstrations confirmed that the energy output exceeded any known electrical generation method of the time. Word of Benedek's success quickly spread through European scientific circles, but as interest in the technology grew, so did the pressure to suppress it. Energy companies across Europe began expressing concerns about the economic implications of free atmospheric power. Government officials worried about the impact on national power grids and tax revenue streams. Within months of his public demonstrations, Benedek found himself facing legal challenges, funding cuts, and increasingly hostile scrutiny. The final blow came in the early 1929 when Benedek's laboratory was destroyed in what authorities ruled an accidental fire. The scientist himself disappeared shortly afterward, and no trace of his atmospheric energy harvester was ever recovered. Attempts by other researchers to recreate the device based on Benedek's published papers consistently failed, as if crucial components had been deliberately omitted from the public record. Moving from atmospheric energy to cellular regeneration, our second forgotten invention takes us into the realm of medicine. In 1952, Dr. Elena Morozova, working in a modest laboratory in Prague, developed what she called the cellular restoration field generator. This device could accelerate the human body's natural healing processes by up to 50 times their normal rate. The technology was based on Morozova's discovery that human cells respond to specific electromagnetic frequencies in ways that conventional medicine had never explored. By exposing damaged tissue to precisely calibrated energy fields, she could trigger rapid cellular repair and regeneration. Cuts that normally took weeks to heal would close within hours. Broken bones could mend in days rather than months. Morozova's device resembled a large metallic arch that patients could walk through or lie beneath. The treatment was completely non-invasive, requiring no surgery, medication, or physical contact. During the exposure period, which typically lasted between 15 and 30 minutes, patients reported feeling a gentle warmth accompanied by a subtle tingling sensation. Clinical trials conducted at 3 Prague hospitals showed remarkable results. Patients with severe burns experienced complete skin regeneration without scarring. Individuals suffering from chronic joint pain found their conditions entirely reversed. Most impressively, the device appeared to slow and even reverse certain age-related cellular damage, effectively turning back the biological clock. Medical institutions across Europe began requesting access to Morozova's technology. Pharmaceutical companies initially showed interest in licensing the device for hospital use. But as the implications became clear, attitudes shifted dramatically. A technology that could heal most injuries and illnesses rapidly threatened the entire foundation of the medical industry. The pressure came swiftly and from multiple directions. Medical boards questioned the safety of electromagnetic treatments. Regulatory agencies demanded extensive testing that would take decades to complete. Insurance companies refused to cover treatments using unproven technology. Within 2 years, funding for Morozova's research was completely eliminated. In 1954, Morozova's laboratory was raided by government agents citing violations of medical research protocols. All equipment was confiscated for inspection, and the scientist was prohibited from continuing her work. She spent her remaining years working as a general practitioner in a small rural clinic, never again permitted to pursue cellular regeneration research. The third invention on our list ventures into transportation technology that could have revolutionized how we move through the world. In 1963, aerospace engineer Marcus Webb unveiled his gravity displacement engine, a propulsion system that could lift and move objects by manipulating gravitational fields rather than relying on conventional thrust mechanisms. Webb's breakthrough emerged from his work on advanced materials during the early space program. While experimenting with exotic metal alloys under extreme electromagnetic conditions, he discovered that certain configurations could create localized distortions in gravitational force. By arranging these materials in specific geometric patterns and subjecting them to precisely controlled energy fields, he could generate what he termed gravity wells that pulled objects in desired directions. The prototype engine, mounted in a small aircraft frame, demonstrated the ability to hover silently without any visible means of propulsion. The craft could accelerate instantly in any direction, make impossible 90-degree turns, and operate at altitudes where conventional engines would fail. Most remarkably, passengers inside the vehicle experienced no G-forces, as if the laws of physics had been temporarily suspended. Government officials and military representatives who witnessed Webb's demonstrations were simultaneously fascinated and terrified. The technology represented a complete paradigm shift in transportation and warfare. Aircraft powered by gravity displacement engines would be virtually undetectable, capable of unlimited range, and immune to conventional defensive measures. Initial discussions centered around classified military development contracts worth millions of dollars. Webb was offered substantial funding to continue his research under government supervision. However, he insisted on maintaining civilian control of the technology, believing it should benefit all humanity rather than serving exclusively military purposes. This disagreement proved fatal to the project. Within weeks of declining military control, Webb began experiencing equipment failures, supply disruptions, and bureaucratic obstacles. His workshop was burglarized multiple times, with thieves targeting only his research materials and prototypes while ignoring valuable tools and equipment. The final incident occurred during a planned public demonstration intended to attract civilian investors. As Webb prepared to showcase his gravity displacement engine to a gathering of scientists and journalists, the device malfunctioned catastrophically. The resulting explosion destroyed the aircraft, severely injured Webb, and eliminated all traces of the revolutionary technology. Webb survived his injuries but never recovered mentally from the loss of his life's work. He spent his remaining years insisting that his engine had been sabotaged, though no evidence of tampering was ever found. The official investigation concluded that the explosion resulted from experimental technology operating beyond safe parameters. These three inventions represent only the beginning of our exploration into suppressed technologies. Each one demonstrates a pattern that repeats throughout history. Revolutionary breakthroughs that threaten established industries face systematic opposition that often results in their complete elimination. The atmospheric energy harvester challenged the power industry. The cellular restoration field generator threatened pharmaceutical profits. The gravity displacement engine represented a paradigm shift too radical for existing power structures to accept. But the question remains, if these technologies were real and functional, why haven't they been redeveloped by other inventors? The answer lies in the systematic suppression of the fundamental research that made these breakthroughs possible. When key patents are bought and buried, when research materials disappear, and when scientists face intimidation or worse, the knowledge required to recreate these technologies becomes scattered and incomplete. The suppression becomes self-perpetuating. When promising researchers attempt to explore similar concepts, they find themselves facing the same obstacles that destroyed their predecessors. Funding becomes impossible to secure. Academic institutions distance themselves from controversial research. Professional reputations are destroyed before breakthrough discoveries can be properly documented or shared. This brings us to our fourth forgotten invention, one that emerged from the unlikely intersection of agriculture and energy production. In 1967, biochemist Dr. Sarah Chen developed what she called the Photosynthetic energy multiplier, a device that could harness and amplify the natural energy conversion processes found in plant cells. Chen had been studying the inefficiencies in photosynthesis when she discovered that certain synthetic compounds could dramatically enhance the energy output of chlorophyll-based reactions. By creating artificial chloroplasts using modified organic polymers, she built a system that converted sunlight into electrical energy with an efficiency rate exceeding 90%. The device itself looked deceptively simple. Arrays of dark green panels, each containing millions of synthetic chloroplasts suspended in a nutrient solution, could be arranged like solar collectors. Unlike traditional photovoltaic cells, these biological energy converters continued producing power even in low-light conditions and actually increased their output over time as the synthetic organisms adapted and multiplied. Field tests conducted on Chen's family farm in California demonstrated extraordinary results. A single acre of photosynthetic energy multipliers could power an entire town. The system required minimal maintenance, used no rare earth elements, and actually improved air quality by consuming carbon dioxide at an accelerated rate. The synthetic chloroplasts could be manufactured using common agricultural waste, making the technology both sustainable and economically viable. Agricultural corporations initially embraced Chen's discovery, seeing opportunities to transform farmland into energy production facilities. Environmental groups celebrated the potential for clean, renewable power that could address climate concerns while providing economic benefits to rural communities. Energy companies, however, viewed the technology as an existential threat to their fossil fuel infrastructure. The opposition campaign began subtly. Scientific papers questioning the long-term stability of synthetic biological systems appeared in prominent journals. Regulatory agencies raised concerns about releasing modified organisms into the environment. Insurance companies refused to cover facilities using unproven biotechnology. As pressure mounted, Chen found herself facing increasingly aggressive challenges. Her research permits were revoked due to alleged safety violations. Laboratory inspections uncovered supposed contamination issues that required immediate facility closure. Legal challenges drained her financial resources and forced her to halt development work. The final blow came when Chen's entire crop of photosynthetic energy multipliers was destroyed by what authorities determined to be a naturally occurring plant virus. The outbreak spread with suspicious efficiency, eliminating years of careful cultivation and genetic development. No samples survived, and Chen lacked the resources to restart her research from scratch. Our fifth invention takes us into the realm of communication technology that could have transformed human connection decades before the Internet age. In 1971, electronics engineer David Kowalski developed the Neural Interface Communicator, a device that could transmit thoughts and emotions directly between human minds without requiring any external communication infrastructure. Kowalski's breakthrough emerged from his work on early brain-computer interfaces for paralyzed patients. While developing systems to help disabled individuals control devices through thought alone, he discovered that the electrical patterns generated by focused mental activity could be detected, encoded, and transmitted to other neural interface devices. The communicator consisted of a lightweight headset containing an array of sensors that could detect the subtle electromagnetic fields generated by specific thought patterns. These signals were processed through a compact encoding unit that converted mental activity into transmittable data. When received by another device, the encoded information was converted back into neural stimulation patterns that could be interpreted by the recipient's brain. Initial tests between Kowalski and his research partner demonstrated that simple concepts, emotions, and even complex ideas could be shared instantaneously across distances of several miles. The communication was remarkably clear, with recipients reporting that transmitted thoughts felt like their own mental voice speaking in a distinctly different tone. The implications were staggering. The neural interface communicator could have enabled direct mind-to-mind conversation, eliminated language barriers, and created unprecedented levels of human understanding and empathy. Emergency responders could coordinate silently and efficiently. Medical professionals could better understand patient experiences. Educational institutions could facilitate direct knowledge transfer. Telecommunications companies immediately recognized the disruptive potential of thought-based communication. A technology that required no towers, cables, or service providers threatened their entire business model. Military organizations expressed interest in the tactical advantages of silent coordination, but civilian applications raised concerns about privacy and social control. The pressure to suppress Kowalski's invention came from multiple directions simultaneously. Privacy advocates warned about the dangers of mind-reading technology. Religious groups objected to artificial interference with human consciousness. Regulatory agencies questioned the safety of electromagnetic stimulation near brain tissue. Within months, Kowalski found himself facing federal investigations into unauthorized human experimentation. His research funding was terminated due to ethical concerns raised by institutional review boards. Laboratory equipment was confiscated pending safety evaluations that stretched on indefinitely. The Neural Interface Communicator project officially ended when Kowalski accepted a lucrative consulting position with a defense contractor, signing agreements that prohibited him from discussing or continuing his communication research. The technology vanished into classified military development programs, never to emerge in civilian applications. Moving into the field of materials science, our sixth forgotten invention could have revolutionized manufacturing and construction across every industry. In 1974, materials engineer Dr. Yuki Tanaka discovered how to create what she called self-assembling matter, substances that could reorganize themselves into predetermined structures when exposed to specific trigger conditions. Tanaka's breakthrough came while studying crystalline formation patterns in zero-gravity environments. She found that certain molecular compounds, when combined with programmable catalyst particles, could be instructed to form complex three-dimensional structures autonomously. The resulting materials could transform from liquid states into solid objects with predetermined shapes, properties, and functions. The applications seemed limitless. Construction materials could be shipped as compact liquids and assembled into buildings on site. Damaged structures could repair themselves automatically when exposed to the appropriate trigger compounds. Manufacturing processes could be simplified to the point where complex machinery could assemble itself from basic raw materials. Demonstration projects showed concrete that could flow into forms and solidify into architectural structures with built-in electrical systems and plumbing. Metal alloys that could reshape themselves to optimize strength and weight distribution based on stress patterns, even electronic components that could self-organize into functional circuits and processors. The construction and manufacturing industries initially showed tremendous interest in self-assembling technologies. The potential cost savings and efficiency improvements were enormous. However, as the full implications became apparent, established interests began to resist the revolutionary changes that widespread adoption would require. Labor unions opposed technologies that could eliminate millions of construction and manufacturing jobs. Equipment manufacturers resisted innovations that would make their machinery obsolete. Material suppliers fought against systems that could create products from basic elemental components rather than their specialized offerings. The suppression campaign targeted both the technology and its creator simultaneously. Safety concerns were raised about materials that could potentially reshape themselves unpredictably. Environmental groups warned about the dangers of releasing self-modifying substances into ecosystems. Regulatory agencies demanded extensive testing protocols that would require decades to complete. Tanaka's laboratory experienced a series of mysterious accidents that destroyed critical research materials and contaminated experimental samples. Her funding sources dried up as investors became concerned about liability issues associated with autonomous materials. Patent applications were rejected on grounds that self-assembling matter violated fundamental principles of material science. No. The final elimination of self-assembling matter research occurred when Tanaka's entire laboratory was condemned due to alleged structural safety issues. All materials and equipment were removed for disposal, and the facility was demolished before independent engineers could verify the reported problems. These 6 inventions reveal an unmistakable pattern of systematic suppression that extends far beyond individual cases of scientific misfortune. Each technology threatened established economic structures in ways that made their elimination inevitable. The atmospheric energy harvester challenged utility monopolies. The cellular restoration field generator threatened medical industry profits. The gravity displacement engine represented military paradigm shifts too radical for existing power structures. The photosynthetic energy multiplier could have eliminated fossil fuel dependence. The neural interface communicator threatened telecommunications corporations. Self-assembling matter would have revolutionized manufacturing and construction. The methods of suppression remain remarkably consistent across decades and disciplines. Initial enthusiasm gives way to manufactured controversy. Scientific opposition emerges from industry-funded research. Regulatory obstacles multiply exponentially. Legal challenges drain resources and delay development. Laboratory accidents eliminate physical evidence. Key researchers disappear, die mysteriously, or abandon their work under pressure. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this pattern is how effectively it has been hidden from public awareness. Most people remain completely unaware that these technologies ever existed, let alone that they were deliberately suppressed. The absence of these innovations from our current world feels natural rather than artificial, making it difficult to imagine how different our lives might have been. As we continue examining the remaining 4 forgotten inventions, the scope and sophistication of technological suppression becomes even more apparent. The forces working to control human progress operate with resources, coordination, and ruthlessness that few individuals can successfully resist. Our 7th forgotten invention emerges from the field of medicine, but approaches healing from an entirely different perspective than Dr. Morozova's cellular restoration technology. In 1976, neurobiologist Dr. Marcus Rivera developed what he termed the consciousness amplification chamber, a device that could enhance the human mind's natural ability to heal the body through focused mental intention. Rivera's research began with studies of placebo effects and the documented cases of spontaneous remission in terminal patients. He theorized that the human consciousness possessed untapped healing capabilities that could be dramatically enhanced through proper technological amplification. His chamber used a combination of electromagnetic field generators, crystalline resonators, and biofeedback systems to create an environment where mental healing intentions could produce measurable physical results. The device resembled a medical scanning chamber, with the patient lying on a platform surrounded by arrays of precisely calibrated equipment. During treatment sessions, patients entered deep meditative states while the chamber amplified and focused their healing intentions towards specific areas of illness or injury. Brain monitoring equipment tracked neural activity patterns, automatically adjusting the amplification fields to optimize the healing response. Clinical trials conducted at Rivera's private research facility documented extraordinary outcomes. Patients with chronic pain conditions experienced complete relief after single sessions. Individuals suffering from autoimmune disorders showed rapid improvement in their inflammatory markers. Most remarkably, several terminal cancer patients achieved complete remission following treatment protocols that combined consciousness amplification with conventional therapies. The medical establishment's response was swift and decisive. Professional medical boards questioned Rivera's credentials and demanded peer review of his unconventional methods. Pharmaceutical companies expressed concerns about treatments that could potentially reduce medication dependencies. Insurance providers refused to cover consciousness-based therapies, citing lack of scientific validation through traditional clinical trials. Rivera attempted to address these concerns by inviting independent researchers to observe and validate his work. However, visiting scientists reported that they were unable to replicate the healing effects when operating the chamber themselves. The technology appeared to require Rivera's direct involvement to function properly, suggesting that his personal consciousness played a critical role in the amplification process. This dependency on Rivera's unique abilities became both the technology's greatest strength and its ultimate vulnerability. When pressure mounted to suppress the consciousness amplification research, eliminating Rivera effectively eliminated the technology itself. In 1978, Rivera was found dead in his laboratory under circumstances that authorities ruled a heart attack, despite his excellent health and relatively young age. The consciousness amplification chamber was dismantled by medical authorities who claimed the equipment posed safety risks to patients. All research records were confiscated for review and never returned. Attempts by Rivera's colleagues to continue the work failed completely, as if some essential component had been permanently lost. Moving into the realm of environmental technology, our eighth forgotten invention could have addressed pollution problems decades before they reached critical levels. In 1979, chemical engineer Dr. Lisa Park developed the molecular disintegration array, a system that could break down toxic waste materials at the atomic level, converting dangerous pollutants into harmless elemental components. Park's breakthrough emerged from her work on advanced catalytic processes for the petrochemical industry. While researching methods to break down complex hydrocarbon chains, she discovered that certain combinations of electromagnetic fields and exotic catalysts could disrupt molecular bonds so completely that toxic compounds were reduced to their basic atomic elements. These elements could then be safely released or collected for beneficial uses. The molecular disintegration array consisted of large processing chambers where contaminated materials were exposed to precisely controlled energy fields. The system could handle virtually any type of toxic waste, from radioactive materials to industrial chemicals to biological contaminants. The process generated no secondary pollution and actually consumed less energy than conventional waste treatment methods. Demonstration projects showed the array successfully eliminating pesticide contamination from agricultural soil, neutralizing radioactive waste from nuclear facilities, and breaking down plastic pollution in water systems. The technology could have solved environmental crises that continue plaguing us today, from ocean plastic accumulation to nuclear waste storage problems. Environmental agencies initially celebrated Park's invention as a breakthrough solution for pollution cleanup. Industrial corporations saw opportunities to eliminate costly waste disposal processes while improving their environmental compliance records. However, waste management companies viewed the technology as a direct threat to their profitable disposal operations. The opposition campaign began with questions about the safety of molecular disintegration processes. Critics worried about the potential for accidental release of atomic particles or uncontrolled chain reactions. Regulatory agencies demanded extensive environmental impact studies that would require years to complete and millions of dollars in funding. Park found herself facing increasingly sophisticated sabotage attempts targeting her research facilities. Equipment malfunctioned during critical demonstrations. Chemical supplies were contaminated with substances that interfered with the disintegration process. Security breaches resulted in the theft of key components and research documentation. The final blow came when Park's main processing facility suffered what investigators determined to be an accidental explosion caused by improper handling of experimental materials. The blast destroyed years of research and development work while seriously injuring several team members. Park herself sustained injuries that ended her career in chemical engineering. Our ninth forgotten invention ventures into the field of transportation energy, offering an alternative approach to the gravity displacement technology we examined earlier. In 1982, physicist Dr. James Chen developed the zero-point energy extractor, a device that could tap into the quantum vacuum to provide unlimited clean energy for any application. Chen's research focused on the theoretical energy that exists in seemingly empty space due to quantum field fluctuations. While other scientists had speculated about accessing zero-point energy, Chen was the first to create a practical device that could extract usable power from the quantum vacuum. His Extractor used arrays of specially designed metamaterial antennas that could detect and capture the minute energy fluctuations present throughout space. The prototype device was compact enough to fit in a standard equipment cabinet, yet it could generate continuous electrical power without any fuel input or waste output. The energy extraction process was completely silent and produced no electromagnetic emissions that could interfere with other equipment. Most importantly, the power output appeared to be limited only by the size and complexity of the extraction apparatus. Testing conducted at Chen's university laboratory confirmed that the zero-point energy extractor could power everything from small electronic devices to large industrial machinery. The technology promised to eliminate humanity's dependence on fossil fuels, nuclear power, and even renewable energy sources like solar and wind. Free, unlimited energy could have transformed civilization within a single generation. Energy corporations immediately recognized the existential threat posed by zero-point extraction technology. If successful, Chen's device would render their entire infrastructure obsolete overnight. Utility companies would become unnecessary. Oil and gas reserves would lose their strategic value. The global economy built on energy scarcity would collapse. The suppression campaign against Chen's research began with academic challenges to the theoretical foundations of zero-point energy extraction. Prominent physicists published papers arguing that quantum vacuum energy could not be extracted without violating fundamental conservation laws. Scientific journals refused to publish Chen's experimental results, citing peer review concerns about extraordinary claims. University administrators grew increasingly uncomfortable with the controversy surrounding Chen's research. Funding agencies withdrew support for projects that challenged established physical principles. Equipment suppliers refused to provide specialized components needed for larger extraction devices. Chen attempted to continue his work independently, but faced escalating interference with his research activities. Laboratory break-ins resulted in the theft of critical components and documentation. Electromagnetic interference disrupted sensitive measurements during crucial experiments. Chen himself began experiencing health problems that forced him to reduce his research activities. The zero-point energy extractor project officially ended when Chen accepted early retirement from his university position. All research materials were transferred to a classified government program where they disappeared from public access. Chen spent his remaining years working as a private consultant, never again permitted to pursue zero-point energy research. Our final forgotten invention takes us into the realm of information technology, predating the Internet era, but offering capabilities that remain beyond our current systems. In 1985, computer scientist Dr. Maria Santos developed the Quantum Information Network, a communication system that could transmit data instantaneously across unlimited distances using quantum entanglement principles. Santos had been working on early quantum computing concepts when she discovered that entangled particle pairs could maintain information synchronization regardless of physical separation. By creating networks of quantum entangled communication nodes, she could establish instant data transmission links that operated faster than light speed and were completely immune to interception or interference. The quantum information network required no physical infrastructure between communication points. Data could be transmitted from any location to any other location instantaneously, without cables, radio waves, or satellite relays. The system was inherently secure, as any attempt to intercept quantum entangled information would immediately alert both sender and receiver while corrupting the intercepted data. Demonstration networks established between Santos's laboratory facilities confirmed that the quantum communication system worked exactly as theorized. Video, audio, and digital information could be shared instantly across continental distances. The technology promised to revolutionize global communications by eliminating transmission delays and infrastructure limitations. Telecommunications corporations immediately understood the disruptive potential of quantum information networks. Their existing infrastructure investments would become worthless if instantaneous communication could be established without physical networks. Government intelligence agencies also expressed concerns about communication systems that were completely immune to monitoring and control. The opposition to Santos's quantum network research combined technical skepticism with practical obstruction. Physicists argued that quantum entanglement could not be used for information transmission due to fundamental quantum mechanical principles. Patent applications were rejected on grounds that the claimed technology violated established scientific laws. Santos found herself facing increasingly aggressive interference with her research activities. Funding sources disappeared as investors became concerned about the commercial viability of quantum communication technologies. Laboratory equipment experienced mysterious failures that corrupted quantum entanglement experiments. The Quantum Information Network project came to an abrupt end when Santos's primary research facility was destroyed in what authorities determined to be an accidental fire caused by electrical equipment malfunction. All quantum communication hardware and research documentation were lost in the blaze. Santos herself relocated to another country and never again pursued quantum networking research. These 10 forgotten inventions represent more than isolated cases of suppressed technology. They reveal a systematic pattern of control that has shaped human progress for decades. Each innovation threatened established power structures in ways that made their elimination inevitable, regardless of their potential benefits for humanity. The atmospheric energy harvester, cellular restoration field generator, gravity displacement engine, photosynthetic energy multiplier, neural interface communicator, self-assembling matter, consciousness amplification chamber, molecular disintegration array, zero-point energy extractor, and quantum information network all shared common characteristics that sealed their fate. They offered solutions that were too complete, too disruptive, and too democratizing for existing power structures to tolerate. The suppression methods employed against these technologies demonstrate sophisticated coordination between corporate interests, government agencies, and scientific institutions. The pattern repeats with disturbing consistency: initial enthusiasm followed by manufactured controversy, regulatory obstacles, resource strangulation, and ultimately the complete elimination of both the technology and its creators. Perhaps most troubling is the realization that this suppression continues today. While we celebrate incremental advances in conventional technologies, revolutionary breakthroughs that could fundamentally transform human civilization are being systematically identified and eliminated before they can reach public awareness. The question we must ask ourselves is not whether these technologies were real, but what other innovations are being suppressed right now. How many solutions to our current problems already exist in classified files and buried patents? What kind of world might we be living in if human progress had been allowed to develop naturally instead of being controlled by those who profit from scarcity and limitation? The evidence suggests that we are living in an artificially constrained reality, decades behind where we should be technologically. The future that these 10 inventors envisioned may still be possible, but only if we become aware of the forces working to prevent it and find ways to overcome the systematic suppression of revolutionary progress. Those 10 forgotten inventions paint a chilling portrait of human potential deliberately constrained. From atmospheric energy that could have freed us from fossil fuels to consciousness amplification that could have revolutionized healing, each breakthrough was methodically erased not because it failed, but because it succeeded too well. The pattern is undeniable. Revolutionary technologies that threaten established power structures face systematic destruction through manufactured controversy, regulatory sabotage, and the elimination of their creators. What we call technological progress is actually technological control, carefully managed to preserve existing hierarchies while maintaining the illusion of advancement. The most disturbing realization is that this suppression continues today. While we celebrate minor improvements to existing systems, truly transformative innovations are being identified and eliminated before they can reach public awareness. We're living in an artificially constrained reality, decades behind where human civilization should be. The inventors we've examined today dared to imagine a world without scarcity, without pollution, without the limitations we accept as natural. Their fate serves as both warning and inspiration. The future they envisioned may still be possible, but only if we recognize the forces working against genuine progress and find ways to overcome them. The question isn't whether these technologies were real. The question is, what other solutions are being suppressed right now, and what kind of world we might build if innovation were finally allowed to flourish without interference?